Hello, everyone, and welcome again to one of Lucy's inspiring stories. And I'm so happy to have my guest today because she and I resonate. We're going to be talking about intuition today, and if there's something that I've always um, followed in my life has been my intuition. So we definitely have this in common. So Anna Quigley, welcome, welcome, welcome to Lucy's Inspiring Stories.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to chatting some more with you.
Thank you, thank you. And I'm so happy to have you with me today because, from the moment I read your story, I really felt a resonance. It was that deep knowing that happens when two intuitives recognize each other.
Yeah.
And, I always think of Einstein, who talked about intuition as a sacred, the sacred gift. and
Absolutely.
and great scientific achievements, he said, originated from it. I mean, this is huge, and even Steve Jobs, who attributes his extraordinary success to what he called that personality trait, intuition. Now, do you consider the intuition a personality trait?
Absolutely not. It's inbred in all of us. I hate to, probably not the right word, but we're born with it. We all have it. It's a God given gift, if you will,
Hmm.
like every other thing that we have that's built in original equipment, if you want to use the car term.
Yeah.
It's all original equipment. It's whether we learn to recognize it and use it. That's the difference. But it's there for all of us. And that's the fantastic thing about it. It's just a matter of learning how to use it.
It's really funny because all my life I had no direction except my intuition. And I learned to follow that, and it led me the right way. I don't understand. I just went with it. I didn't understand it. I didn't even know it was called intuition. We used to call it the gut feeling. I used to call it the gut. My gut feel. My gut tells me to do this. I'm going to
Yeah.
do it. You
Yeah.
know. And when I was in school, we didn't have counselors that could counsel you as to where you should go, what classes you should do. It was always my intuition.
That's fantastic that you've been listening and aware of it.
Yeah.
And the gut feeling is the easiest way we recognize it, but it comes through all of our senses,
Yeah.
and it comes through in different ways, different circumstances. Day to day, it could be different, but they're all talking. They're all talking back to it.
Right. It's amazing because you've shared that your intuition has been the quiet voice guiding you, at every crosswords, especially when you called your so-called perfect life. You mentioned, you
Yeah.
said that you fell apart. What did that moment of surrender really look like for you, and how did following your intuition change
That
everything?
that that is one of the things that I am most passionate about talking about
Mhm.
and helping clients with I think we all have moments in our life where things collapse, where this life that we
Yep.
created, that we planned for, we worked toward, all of a sudden it's not working. It
Right.
could be divorce, it could be the kids leaving or a job not working out.
Yeah.
In this particular case, it was kind of compound. The company I had found literally through my intuition that I didn't think was going to be more than a temporary job, turned out to be one of my favorite jobs. And I was in it for 7.5 years. The industry changed and I ended up getting laid off.
Hmm.
Pretty much the same time, I was in a very contentious legal dispute with the co-owner of my building. And this was a dream to finally be living in San Francisco. I had a Queen Anne Victorian. I had a wonderful job, great friends. It was the life I had dreamt of, that I'd worked toward. And within a month and a half, it just collapsed from my feeling. Now, yes, I still had the friends. I was still in the city, but I was devastated. I was at a loss momentarily. And I say momentarily because with my spiritual background and training, I knew enough to stop and take a breath.
Right.
And my instinct was, okay, I need to find some quiet space. I need to have a moment to get clear.
Right.
Something, this is happening for a reason. I believe everything does. And even negative things are moving us forward. So okay, I need to go sit on top of a mountain and meditate. I
Wow.
literally said
You
that.
and I have so much in common. Go ahead.
And there's a nice mountain area. I used to go hiking just north of San Francisco. So this is what I'm thinking. A day and a half later, my cousin called on the same spiritual bent as me. And she goes, I'm going to India to an ashram. Want to go? And it turns out that ashram happened to be on top of a mountain. Now, if that's not a sign, I don't know what is.
Right.
And my rational mind was, no, you have to deal with the lawyers. You need to find another job. You've
Yeah.
got to resolve all of this. But that was just too clear a calling. I asked for a place where I could go and get clarity as to what was happening and why. And so I said, I hesitated for about 30 seconds and I said, yes, because I'd always been fascinated. I'd always wanted to go to India. So it was like, yeah, no kidding.
So it wasn't Mount Tamalpais.
It wasn't Mount. Thank you. You know the Bay Area. Yeah, it
I
wasn't.
lived in San Francisco 35 years.
Oh my God.
In
Okay.
Marin
Yes.
County.
It was Mount Tam. Exactly. So
Yeah,
it wasn't
Mount
Mount.
Tamalpais.
And ended up, the ashram ended up not meeting or being at a mountaintop because of a diphtheria outbreak. But we still went to the ashram and, had to do the shots, the whole thing. But I'm like, everything else, nothing's going to happen. I can come back and find the job. The lawsuit was still,
Right.
mediation, it was still in process. So it was like, just go. This is a gift. This is a gift.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent 3 amazing weeks and came back with clarity. Now, did I get the whole picture? No, I never get the whole picture. I get about 3 feet.
You just needed to clear out those webs.
I just needed that first
Yeah.
bit. And I got,
Yeah.
through the next 3 feet in front of me. And I was surprised because it was as clear as ever that it was time for me to move. And I'm like, what? I love this. I love my house, my Queen Anne Victorian, but it was like, I learned, don't ignore it because it's never been wrong. It's never been anything less than neutral. And neutral meaning I may not see a direct result, but I didn't have anything negative happen. And I have stories about that too. But so I listened and I was drawn to the Northwest and I thought, okay, so I took off and went up to Washington State and started looking and had a vision of the place that I wanted. Crazy how close it came to what I found.
Mm-hmm.
And I moved. I sold my house. I packed up. I moved to Washington. Didn't know a soul up there. Totally leap of faith and following. And I got there and it's like, okay, God, now what?
Yeah.
I'm here. I listened. I'm here. Now what? And it took a bit, but again, I gave myself time to kind of process and think.
There's I want to explore the dance between intuition and courage because, it shaped your journey, your healing and the incredible work that you do helping others to discover, the purpose for their second act in their lives. I mean, you do. First of all, it takes courage to go, it's talking to me. It does take courage. I don't understand it very much, but
like you said, it doesn't always make sense.
It does make sense.
Was that the most logical thing for me? No, the most logical thing would have been find another job, deal with the legal thing, or sell the house and buy another. That was logical, and the rational mind really. I love my rational mind, but it can be a bully, and it was really driving hard. But my intuitive was stronger, and I again learned that. Don't question it because when I do, goofy things happen, and
the fact that you were open to your cousin and going to India, it was the intuition talking because I had a similar situation.
Did you?
I was in a situation where I knew my marriage wasn't working anymore. Wonderful man, just spiritually, we just didn't connect.
Mhm.
And so I thought, and so I was invited to go to Peru, and I was
Wonderful.
going to meet a friend there in Peru, but I was going to do Machu Picchu all by myself, and I did. And I stayed in that hotel on top of Machu Picchu, and I climbed the next mountain all by myself. It was raining the day before. I was warned not to do it, and I just went, "When am I going to ever come back here again? I'm going. I don't care." Yeah, my intuition was pushing me. I got on top of the mountain, and I said, "Shall I divorce or not?" And I heard, "Yes."
What is it about mountaintops for us? They're symbolic. I know that. It could be the beach. It could be, sit on a rock in your backyard, but wherever
Yeah.
that is in nature. But yeah, mountaintops have a particular calling for me too. That's so funny.
Oh my God Almighty! So yeah, it's really funny because people often confuse intuition with fear or wishful thinking. How do you tell the difference? I mean, how do you explain it? And what practices help you stay tuned to that frequency of
It
truth or
it
heart?
it it can be confusing, and I've
Yeah,
had people say, "Oh, no, no, it's not always right."
yeah,
But that's where they're really listening to the emotion
yeah,
over intuition. And I think, well, there's two keys. First of all, um, the guidance doesn't come through your rational mind. So if you
no,
start working with your emotion and not the gut feeling, that's different. But if your head's going and your heart's kind of racing, that's not your intuition. That's not your intuition. That's your emotion going, yeah, the rational mind kind of trying to direct things. Whether it's a visual cue, auditory cue, that little voice,
hmm,
seeing repetitive images, the gut feeling. Certainly, it's the most obvious one,
hmm,
but it's a skill. Listening to your intuition, learning to listen to it, and the more you practice it, the easier it gets. Like I know your voice. You can call me on the phone. You don't even have to say your name. I know
right,
your voice. It's the same thing. You learn to recognize when that voice is calling. Now you still have to pay attention to it. I've
right.
I've ignored it, and even just not too long ago, and found out why I should have listened to it. But I'm still human, and once in a while I goof up and I get sidetracked. Rational mind again guiding, but practice it's a skill. The more you practice, the more you're aware. I suggest people track it, and I,
Yeah.
and I have a tracking form I can share.
So you have a tool for people to help people. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because if something happens, some insight, or you go, oh, yeah, that was my little intuition. It happens on Monday. By Wednesday, you go, now, what was that? What
Yeah.
was that?
Right.
You
Exactly.
know, it
I
was
didn't
something,
write it down. Yeah. You're right.
yeah, and you didn't write it down.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just a quick note, and how did it come? Was it a gut feeling, or did that little voice, that little
Right.
voice?
It's interesting. I just put something together that I don't know why I didn't put together before. And I'm talking about the gut feeling, but people say the gut is your second mind.
It's
I,
called the second brain. Science literally calls the
oh
gut into
my God, I
intestine.
never put those two together. That's it's like
It is called the second brain. A little
wow.
bit of science. I love science. I'm a little geeky. And I found this really fascinating when I was doing research. We get 11 bits of information coming at us every second.
Hmm.
So, the breeze and the smell of the coffee in the morning, or the visual cues,
The
all of
noise. Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Yeah, the noise particularly. We're used to all of that. But only 1% of those 11 million messages are picked up by our brain. The
Wow.
rest is picked up through our senses.
Hmm.
The breeze, you feel the breeze on your skin,
Right.
and you hear the noise through your ears, and you get the visual cues. Fascinating, and because if you think about it now, it makes sense.
Right.
So our senses are picking up all of these cues. So how's intuition going to speak to us? It makes total sense. It's logical that it's going to speak to us through those same senses. There
Right.
are receptors, so it's receiving and it's also giving.
Yeah, one of the things that really stands out in your work is the blend of, I call the five S's, you know, science, soul, stories, strategies, and successes, right?
Very good. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I'm trying to think about. Could you share an example of how maybe that fusion has created transformation for someone, or even yourself, maybe? Because yeah, I'm interested in that.
Right. Well, the science for me, and I think for a lot of people, makes it real.
Yeah.
This is not woo woo. This is not, airy fairy, whatever the terms are or were
Mhm.
before we had scientific data. The neural pathways are literally reprogrammed when we work with our senses and use that. It's reprogramming, re-engineering the brain.
Okay.
So that's the science. It's like, this is real.
Okay.
This is real. um, the stories, it's just hearing your story, hearing mine. It's like, yeah, oh, you've listened, and how did you listen? And oh, it
Yeah.
was a gut feeling, and you paid attention. Or um, recently, I didn't want to take the freeway. I wanted to take a back road that's relaxing, and I just come from acupuncture. And I got to the freeway, and my little voice says, "Take the freeway." And I'm like, it startled me because I was just kind of in a Zen
Hmm.
mode. And I, no, rational mind. No, no, you had a plan. You're going this way. And I went straight. I got about a block and a half past the freeway. And I literally heard my little voice again. And I know it. I recognize it after all these years. And it said, turn around, take the freeway. Well, personally, I have a bias about turning around and double backing,
Right.
redoing anything. So it was a double, like, what are you
Mm.
talking about? I'm not,
Right.
I don't want to do that. And I ignored it again. And within a quarter mile, I hit major construction, and it
Yeah.
took me about a half an hour more to get home. Now I laughed, but I was really grateful for that, because what a great reminder. Had I
Yep.
taken the freeway,
Yep.
I'd have gotten home 15 minutes, no issue, most likely. You'll never know. But I wouldn't have known why. Why did it tell me to take the freeway? I don't know. It was uneventful. And that's so often the case. Maybe I would connect with you or run into you that I hadn't seen you in a while and I've been wanting to talk to you, or a synchronicity or something shows up. But most of the time, we don't know why.
It's interesting. It didn't hurt you to do that. You didn't. You know. You. It was just.
Fortunately,
It's
yes.
just. It's just like, okay. Why don't I just listen to my
It
voice?
was a
You know.
Yeah, it was a reminder
Yeah.
that
To remind.
I don't get to know.
Yeah.
I don't get to know. I get to recognize that I get to take action on it or not. And that is totally my choice. But I've never gotten stuck in traffic when I listen to it.
Well, I'm going to be listening the next time. Yeah, that's for sure.
No, and it may not be Mount Tam, but it was a mountain
Yeah.
in India,
Yeah.
So,
Right.
uh,
You said one of your biggest life lessons came through a health adventure and that taught
yes.
you to ask for help. Hmm. How did that experience deepen your understanding of self-care, vulnerability, and allowing others in?
Yeah, that was a tough one. I'd had a couple of other opportunities
Hmm.
earlier in my life to learn that lesson. I was raised to be independent and don't ask for help and do it yourself, and so that was my upbringing.
Hmm.
And I don't know, the universal, people say the universal little whisper, and then it yells, and then it gets the bat. And I,
Right.
and I wasn't paying attention to that, and I got the bat. So
Mm.
um, I had been, oh boy, it's a long story, but I was diagnosed with cancer. I had thought I was totally healthy, and in a matter of a couple of weeks, all of a sudden, I realized there was something wrong, and it took a bit to get that going. Um, this was interesting too, because there's always other things happening. Other. I was renting a place at the time. I got the diagnosis, and I got 30 days notice to get out of the place I was renting.
Oh God.
Again, I'm like,
Oh
what?
no.
You're throwing this at me. My back was essentially broken, so I couldn't really pack. And I first time I definitely had to ask for help. So I had friends and people that I barely knew through organizations and clubs coming and packing my house and helping and doing all of this. And I found another place to go, uh, which turned out to be perfect because
Hmm.
anyway, I needed a friend to stay. It happened that I had a space in this new facility because they didn't want me living alone while I was going through this process.
Right.
And um, it just it guided me to people that I casually knew that
Hmm.
I could ask. Have you ever even heard of this? I had multiple myeloma, and I'd never heard of it. I said, so I had a friend, casual friend I'd just barely known. And I said, okay, I have to ask her. I didn't really know her. It's like, oh,
Right.
you have to ask. Okay, here again, next one. You don't, I don't know. Do you know anything about this? And she goes, yeah. My best friend happens to run all the clinical trials for the United States
Oh wow.
for this. And I thought, it's a good thing I asked.
That's a
So
good thing you laughed.
there's another one.
Oh my
It was
God.
a series of that. And then she hooked me up with someone, and I got to the right doctors. Ultimately, it wasn't the first time, but
Hmm.
ultimately I got to where I got extremely good care. And having to move, and this isn't necessarily intuition, but I was guided through this whole process because I ended up with a stem cell transplant, which kind of reboots your immune system.
Hmm.
And I had to be in total isolation, like mask and gloves pre-COVID. So when COVID came, I was, like, I've got this down.
Were you in Washington then?
No, I was back in Southern California
Okay.
at this point. I had just come back. And it turns out that I could not have had I not been kicked out of that house, I would have had no place to go when I came out of the hospital
Wow.
because the neighborhood burnt down. The
You
neighborhood
see.
burned down and everything was in ashes, and it would have been so toxic. The house I was staying in escaped the fire, but everything around it,
Wow.
I wouldn't have been able I wouldn't have had any place to go. So I was guided there. Um, so
It's listening,
it's listening, and it's trusting,
it's
because
trusting.
again, it was this chaos. It was the implosion, like my job and the lawsuit happening at the same time. It's like, okay, this is moving me someplace for my betterment, but
Right.
I didn't know why, and I didn't
Yeah.
know where.
Life life happens for us and not to us kind of
Life
thing.
happens for us,
Yeah.
and life happens when we're, what was it, John Lennon, when you're making other plans.
Exactly.
That's this, like me in the car, I'm not taking that road, I'm not taking the freeway. It's like, yeah, well, you
Yeah.
will, or you'll pay the price. Pay the price, really, large or small. So there were a series of things, but every bit of it, and even to the point where I had to ask for rides to
Wow.
appointments. And it was, say, I still get emotional. I was just like, oh no, I'm so sorry. And asking my brother, I said, oh, I'm sorry. I hate to bother you, and I'm really doing this.
And they
And,
love to do this for
and
you.
that's, and well, what got me, he goes, you're just like dad. I'm like, what? Those kind of comments. It's like, because
Yeah.
when our dad was ill and at the end of his life, same thing. He didn't. Oh no, I can. And boy, that caught me. I said, no, I'm not. I didn't do that. And I adore my dad,
Yeah.
but it's like, no, I'm not that way. And my brother told me. He said, this is a gift for
Mm.
me.
Wow.
I'd never,
Beautiful.
ever looked at it that way. He said, this
Mm.
is a gift for me. I want to help you. There's nothing else I can do.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, oh,
What a
I
blessing.
love you more than ever.
Right. It's
Yeah.
it's amazing. It's amazing. It's just amazing. If you believe in the universe, you believe in things, you believe in your intuition, it's just, life is just beautiful if you just want to take the time to listen.
And
You
and
know,
let it
yeah,
move in and through you.
yeah,
It's constantly trying. but we tune it off, and there's chaos in our lives. We've got so many things, practical things that we have to do, and it's that chatter, it's that noise, and learning to listen to intuition is like turning down the volume
Yeah.
on all of that stuff around you, and stealing time for quiet. I highly recommend anybody go sit on a mountaintop and have some clarity, but it's not terribly practical. You can
It's not very practical. You're right. I mean, I had to go to Machu Picchu. You went
and I'm jealous. That's on my list, and it's still on the bucket list. Mm-hmm. But you sit in your car for 5 minutes, before you go in the house and deal with fixing dinner or taking care of the kids or whatever else is going on, or just walk around the neighborhood, not with earbuds, not listening to stuff, just anytime. I call it the power of the shower, but there have been so many scientific discoveries and music ideas, creative ideas that have come from bathing. Just that stillness, and your mind kind of tunes out, and you're relaxing to the temperature of the water, or you're floating if you're in the ocean. Your rational mind's not thinking then. If you think about you in a tub with bubbles or swimming in the ocean, there's a scientist at UCSD that I heard one of his lectures, and one of the students was commenting on, oh yeah, it's hard work. Boy, he just won the Nobel Prize, and he was, oh yeah, it takes a lot of hard work. And I love the response. He's the scientist, the guy that had won the Nobel Prize. He said, yeah, it does. It takes a lot of work. He said, but honestly, I get most of my great ideas when I'm running around Torrey Pines State Park.
There you go.
It's or sitting in the bathtub. John Lennon has been noted as he's come up with song titles, and actually the theory of displacement. The scientist, and I can't remember his name at this time, that's where he came up with the theory and of displacement. When he was in the bathtub, he goes, "Oh wait, when I come in, the water goes up. Hey."
Yeah, and we forget how important that is to pause. To be silent.
It's critical. It's probably the most important thing that we can do in a day. I truly believe that. Just to pause.
You guide a lot of women through what you call the second act of life. I mean, I don't know if you mean the second act. I mean, I live in Mexico, and we call it the third act of life. Well, I'm definitely in the third act of my life. I just turned 80, by the way. And so, and so you help them answer their, what you call midlife calling. Mm-hmm. How do you help women reframe, from crisis to awakening? Because that can be.
And that's usually the catalyst, just as we've been talking about these crises that I had, were catalysts for me to learn how to ask for help and to move into a situation that was going to allow me to heal, even though it didn't make any sense when that chaos was happening. It starts with clarity. It doesn't come always easily. It could be a divorce. It could be, it could be anything. Actually, I just spoke with a guy who's 31. He goes, I'm having my quarter life crisis. And we have them at different times, and our priorities, our purposes do change different times in our lives. At some point, maybe it's raising a family that's important. Right. But why midlife seems to be significant is because you've done the career, you've gotten the education, you've probably had the relationship, the kids may be out of the house, or at least they're well grown, and then it's like, okay, now what? Is this it? Is this it? So we start with clarifying. Sometimes, and I like to use the analogy of, when the chain on your necklace gets really knotted, or a wet rope, if you've ever been sailing them, trying to pull it apart. And that's kind of what all this chaos and confusion is at that point. Wow. And to start really being able to figure out what's going on, we just start pulling each little piece loose, and ideas come and reminders come. And, I have people look back at what they love. What did they love when they were in school? What brought them joy, in high school? I was speaking with somebody actually just this morning, and she said, I wanted to be an artist. And she is an artist now. But her parents said, no, you have to be a nurse. We're not going to pay for school unless you become a nurse. And so she took off and,
Mm-hmm.
eventually went back to school. But she's an artist. But it wasn't practical. They wanted her to be safe and have an income. And it's natural. But that drive
That
was
was all rational for sure.
it was all rational for sure. And but that inner bubbling, that thing, it's breadcrumbs. So we go back and we look at these even with me with this purpose. I had the name for this like 30 years ago, 35 years ago. And different points and times in my life I've been working on it. But it wasn't until recently that I realized this is what I need to be doing full time. Stepped out of a job that was not working for me anymore.
Yeah.
It was a bad
Not
situation,
serving
negative
you or
situation.
serving others, really. Yeah.
And it's really and I believe that all of those crazy experiences, and it's been kind of a roller coaster, but
Right.
they've served me.
Yeah.
And I have tools and experiences. Like you say, I understand the science, the stories, and the steps that I've used, and that's what I'm sharing.
Yeah.
This has worked for me.
Is
And
this the journey to purpose that if you look, folks, I just want to bring your attention to the CTA call to action buttons. If you wish to connect with Anna, all right, click the middle button. It will bring you to her LinkedIn page. You can connect and message her there. And we're going to talk about the journey to purpose, and that would be the bottom button. Can you tell us a little bit about that? I mean, I know that's part of what you're doing with women and whatnot. Yeah.
yeah, well, it goes back to I've had these little breadcrumbs of inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being in tears in my 20s, just from anxiety, going, I know there's something I'm supposed to be doing, but I don't know what. And I knew what I was doing wasn't it, but I was just aching to figure it out. And there are bits and pieces, and I call them our breadcrumbs throughout that path. And that's the journey, and that's the why I have a little path on my icon, because it doesn't. With some people, it's a lightning bolt. Yep, I know what I want to do. My brother's one. I bless his heart. Always knew what he wanted to do. He's done it. His life is, I call it his escalator. It's just been kind of nice, and he's just on the, mine's, Magic Mountain times 10,
Mine too.
Yes, but I've learned, and this is because I know this is my purpose, is to be sharing this. And had I not had those adventures, I'd be doing something else. I don't know what my purpose would have been, but it wouldn't be this.
Yeah.
And so I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for these lessons and the tools that I've learned. And it's my time to give back. It's my time to share. And if I can help anyone make that transition earlier without having to go through so many bumps. I mean, there's always going to be things, but when you're listening, as you have found, when you listen to the intuition, when you're in that chaos and that crisis moment, it's easier to deal with it. It's easier to be clear on, okay, this is what's happening. And that's kind of where I went. I won't say that, the cancer was fun, but from the day one, it was like, oh, okay, this is what I have to deal with, because I knew there was something behind it. There's a reason I had it.
Wow.
And it was like, okay, all right, fasten your seatbelt. This is what you get to deal with. And it helped. It helped me through the process.
This is a reminder.
Plus
Fill out application.
plus the things that the sensory imagination and the neuroplasticity and that kind of science that I've learned also helped me through it in various ways. So.
Do you have a voice talking to you now?
I know, I'm so sorry. That's my little voice. Are you hearing it?
I'm hearing your voice now.
Wow. It's really getting loud. I'm sorry. No, I have an Alexa in the
It's
back.
very funny. It's very funny.
She's like, that's here to remind
It's not
me.
the folks. It's not the voice we're talking about.
I had, doors closed, windows closed, so the neighborhood blowers aren't, making noise, but I forgot about her. So sorry about that.
That's okay. That's okay. That I love being live because these things happen, and so, and then you know what? We're not getting rid of any of this because this is live, and this is what I love about being
This
live.
is real. This is
This is
real.
real, exactly. And I want to ask you because you've said that most coaches and speakers have good intentions, but there's also misconception in the field, right? What do you wish people understood better about the integrity and heart that true coaching requires?
Oh, that's such a good question. I do believe anyone that picks the profession or the choice to give back and to share with others are well intended.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, again, I can only go by my experience. It's I want to evoke in my clients a path for them, not my path, their path. And for me, I want to give tools. I don't want to tell them you have to do this, you have to do this.
Right.
And I think that's the difference for me. I've seen coaches and they're well intended and they may be very effective, but here's what you do, here's the steps, follow this, do this, do
I've
this.
been there. I know. What you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah. And for me, it's not effective. I want tools that I don't want clients to be with me for 10 years.
Right.
I want to give you enough tools and help and knowledge that you can chart your own path,
right,
and find your own way. I'm always here, if they need me, if there's questions, if I can support them in any way. But my gift is here. Here's the skills. They'll teach a woman to fish thing.
Exactly.
So that they can do it. They can do it on their own.
Exactly. But for somebody just beginning, this kind of path, and there are a lot of women. I mean, I know that I was associated with Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi when they started their new legacy, Self-Education is the New Norm, and they came up with, oh my God, people wanted information, but what they wanted more than anything was they wanted expertise, and so they created this course, where people could just put their knowledge or their expertise into this course and become or become a coach, a course creator, or even have a mastermind, which is great. But the thing is that it turned out that 68% of their people were women who wanted to be coaches, which is really interesting. So there's a lot of women out there who are just beginning on this kind of path. Maybe they're feeling that inner nudge, but they're unsure where to start. What's your best advice for finding the right mentors, communities or practices?
Listen to your gut. Right. And I've made a mistake early on in this with a coach, and I felt a nice connection, but I didn't get tools. And for me, that's important. I need to have the knowledge that I can use then going forward in my own life and not be solely dependent on someone. And it was another lesson. It was another lesson. To me, this is how I want to make it. It just confirmed this is how I want to support people and help them transition, not here's your formula, you have to follow it.
Right, exactly.
So often it's like, well, here I put a video together, watch the video, do the homework. I'm more hands-on. Because that's what works for me.
Yeah.
I want the one-on-one connection. I want to be able to talk through things and try this and how did that work and how can we enhance that and how can we tighten that skill, or what do we need to add to that to make it work for them.
Right.
So
when you look ahead, what legacy do you want to leave behind?
So many things. I don't put a number on it, but I'm not too far behind you age-wise, but I want to make as much impact and help as many people as I possibly can. I'm focused initially on like midlife and beyond, because I think that we're just at that point. And I uprooted. That's when the whole San Francisco thing happened, and I'm smack on midlife and doing that. And here I am doing it again many years later.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good time to really, clarify and find that path. But that said, I also have a passion for getting this knowledge and this tool of how to listen to and recognize intuition for kids, like high school at the latest. If I
Yes.
had really been good at this or learned this, how much smoother things could have gone earlier on in my life, and how much sooner I could have found, instead of crying in my living room about what is it I'm here to do, maybe had a little easier road, easier path, easier journey to my purpose.
Well, it's easy when you look back and you can connect those dots.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
If you could leave our audience with one sentence to carry, away with them, what would that be? One sentence?
Well, it's never too late.
My favorite. My favorite.
Absolutely. And my favorite quote is, "The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." I that's been my mantra almost forever.
Wonderful.
Just a small step, and just start assessing and looking at your life. Where's your joy? Where's your passion? Ask your friends, ask your family. What do you think I'm good at? What do you think I love? They can help because they see us from a different perspective. And it's interesting because I found in my own life, but also in the women that I've worked with and known, things that come easily, we tend to dismiss, right? Have you ever had a friend say, "Oh my gosh, Lucie, you're so good at this." Yeah, thank you. We dismiss it, but boy, if you work really hard at something and they, you go, yeah, where's my accolades? Because look how hard I worked. And it's the opposite. It's the things that come easily that we need to pay attention to, because those are our gifts. That's what we're here to share and use.
And we think we're imposters, but it's not true. It's those are what makes us think that? I mean, really,
it's interesting, isn't it?
It is.
I don't know if it's the Puritan work ethic, or
I'm not good enough, or what.
I think some of it, it's like, well, if it comes easily,
right?
Is there any value to it? And it's like, that's the most valuable. What are those innate gifts that you have that your friends don't, that your parents didn't? How come you're good at one thing and no one else in your family is? Why do you have that gift and that ability? That's what you're here to use in some way, some form or another.
What a beautiful journey you're taking us through today. I mean, intuition, imagination, healing, to purpose. Before we wrap up, I'd love to hear what message or intention you hope stays with our listeners long after our conversation today.
Everything that you need to move forward to create the life that you want, it's already inside you.
Wow. Yeah.
I
get goosebumps as I hear that.
I did too.
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
I'm goosebumps on that too. It's true. It's it's the Wizard of Oz. It's Dorothy. You've always had it. Just click your heels. It's inside us all. And it's the process, the journey of, it could be the journey of discovery instead of journey to purpose, but it's leading us to find and to clarify and to recognize our purpose. But we have it. You don't need to look outside yourself. The gifts are already within.
Yeah. I just want to mention to my audience one more time, if you want to connect with Anna, the CTA buttons, I think they're over here to my right. Yes, to my right over here, the one that says connect with Anna. You can message her. You can, that'll take you to her LinkedIn page, and then Journey to Purpose. If you want to know what, the offerings that she has, then click that. And
I if I can interrupt,
Absolutely.
I have a little guide, intuition guide.
Where they
If they
can pick up from Journey to Purpose right there?
they
Okay.
can get, well, if they go and get it directly, if they go to intuitiongift.com,
Okay.
they can get it on the website, but they can go directly to intuitiongift.com. And it
Intuition
talks a
gift.
little bit about the ways intuition comes to us, and there's a tracking sheet, so they can start
I think
using
I
that
saw
tool.
that when I clicked on Journey to Purpose. I think it's all
It
there.
pops up. It
Yeah,
pops
it
up.
pops up, folks. So, we try to make it easy for you. It's right there. I know
Perfect.
that if you're listening in the replay, just know that the CTA call to action buttons are live, so you can click them and connect with Anna in so many different ways. And I just want to say, this interview has been a real joy, even though we started late, but we've done it.
And my voice, my inner voice is talking, chatting
Okay.
away.
Well, I'd be honored if you could share a few words about your experience today, of what this conversation felt like for you today. Um, you know, Thank you for shining your light so generously on us. If you could just share a few words.
I, we're so connected. As you said in the beginning, I'm talking to a soul sister, and I
Well,
can talk all day about this and these experiences. It brings me joy, and it just enhances my purpose. So I thank you for this platform, for the opportunity to have this discussion. And you're doing the same thing, sharing these tools
absolutely.
with as many people as we possibly can to help ease their journey.
Absolutely. So thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for being here. I want to thank my audience also, and I'll see you next week for another Lucie inspiring story. So
I'll
bye
be
for
there.
now. Bye. Thank you, Anna. I'm just going to
Bye
stop
for
the
now.
recording here.